Hello and good morning, Maureen. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you so much.
You must have had a lot of fun putting this book together because, I mean, first of all, you deal with a modern-day mystery, but you also travel into the past. And I love it when authors can do that. They can put us in two different places at the same time.
I find that I like working in dual timelines, but I think it makes sense with mysteries because mysteries are always about going back into the past, whether it's an hour or 100 years, and rewinding and taking it apart and trying to figure out how you got to where you are.
How do you do your research for something like that, just to make sure that the continuity is spot on?
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, it's just a lot of general knowledge and reading, and then once you kind of narrow down what you want to do, then it's in-person research. Like in this case, the book takes place in Ralston Island.
Mm-hmm.
So I go there, I look around and mundane, everything from, just sometimes staring at the sidewalks, what's on the street, to going from island to island, going into the houses, trying to pick, because sometimes what you need is really, really small, like you never know what it is you're going to need. You pick up little things as you go, just, a doorknob, a whole building, a doorknob, a feeling in the air, a local food. You never know what it is you're going to need to do.
Where do you find the inspiration to create something like the Ralston family and then a modern day Marlowe? I mean, because it's two completely different things, but at the same time, they all come together in harmony.
Well, it's Marlowe and the Modern Story, which sounds like I've just written some sort of weird, Nickelodeon sitcom there. But I always start with why the thing happened. And because murder is a big deal, even if you're writing a murder mystery, which is a lighthearted kind of a thing, weirdly, you always have to start with why. And then I build out to the who and the how. And I kind of build from that center outwards. The Ralston family in the past, there's loose historical precedents I'm using there. Because what you find out that the family was into in the past was very, there's a lot of stuff that happened in our past that we simply do not talk about and don't want to talk about, or that we collectively have forgotten was really common. For example, the family is very into eugenics. Eugenics was accepted day-to-day practice. Like, it was just like, and you could go to a eugenics tent at the state fair. You could get yourself a corn dog, and then you could go to the eugenics tent and get your baby's head measured. That is real. That is what used to happen. So this was a belief system. This was, it's also, Phillip Ralston, the Ralston family has 6 older children and 1 younger children. So 2 children die in the past, one of the older children and the younger child. Mm-hmm. He adopted his 6 children as a doctor in World War I. So there's a lot about how families were put together, what the political situation was like in the United States. It's a real mix of things. I mean, I guess I'm just, when you're a reader, I've always been interested in that period in history.
I'm always interested in mansions, and all my entire life, if I read about anything about a mansion, I need someone to take me inside, and that's exactly what you do. It's almost like wearing those VR goggles. You take us inside by way of your paragraphs.
I'm very exacting. I like a map. I like a chart. There's a map in all my books, all the mysteries, and they always mean something. I have to really feel like I understand exactly where everything takes place. I don't know, like this might be a theater. I work in theater as well, and and wrote for it. There's something about having to touch the things to know, like, this is exactly how long it takes to cross the room. This is how you get from one floor to another. I feel like I have to know these things. In some of the books you go on eBay and you buy old maps, like for my True Devious series, which takes place in Vermont. Part of it takes place in the 20s, so I went online and you find a bunch of maps. So you know exactly what roads were there. But mansions are kind of a personality made manifest. They are wealth, They are personality. They are display. They are house, but they are also like, they're not just a house for your family. It's a house for like all your servants, all of these back stairs. There's designed part of the houses that you're not supposed to see if you live in them, which is strange. That's not how we normally think of houses. But those houses have a backstage.
Speaking of maps, my wife and I had a really deep conversation about your style of writing. She says that you leave breadcrumbs. And so I always want to make sure that I can spot a breadcrumb when you're leaving it for us, because it's almost like you're pulling us into the story and you give us something to hold on to so that we can grow with the story.
Yeah, these are fair play mysteries. And by that, it means that they are solvable by the reader. You don't need outside information. And the perpetrator or perpetrators are always introduced early enough that, if it's a 400-page book, they don't come in on 398. You know who they are.
Yeah.
What you do is I work from the back. I always write, I know exactly how everything ends. I write kind of case files about it. I write why everything happened. I break it all down. And then I kind of pull threads out of that. So I pull back to front, rather than kind of, I also don't write in order. So I'll kind of pull the things I want and write those sections.
Because songwriters will sit there, they may get a guitar riff here, they may get a lyric over there. Somehow, some way, it all comes together. And that's what I'm learning with you, is that when you build from the back first, it's like, oh my God, that's so inspiring.
I've never written a book in order, but certainly with mysteries, I've never written a book in order, ever. I don't know how to write in order. Everybody writes in their own way. And the thing is, you also learn to write every book by writing that book. Kids often ask me, like, how do you learn to write? Well, I'm like, you write a lot. You have to write all the time, and you have to fail constantly.
Yep.
Because you fail writing that book until you've written it. So you have to learn how to write each book by writing that book.
Wow. Where can people go to find out more information about you, Maureen? Because, this book right here is your first standalone book, but, you've got a series out there like you wouldn't believe.
I have a lot of standalone books. This is a standalone mystery. You can go to MAUREENJohnson.com. You can go to Maureen Johnson Books on Instagram, or Maureen Johnson on Twitter. And also Maureen Johnson Books on TikTok, which is new and in development, but Instagram on a lot more.
I love it. Please come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you.
Thank you so much.
Well, you be brilliant today.